taking hits to your ballistic skill on these guys.
Well, and like
no, you can move flat out.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it only stops if you use an alternative form of movement, which moving flat out is not.
Oh, okay.
So
Jesus. Hi, and welcome to the still unnamed show for Horus Heresy at the Bull's Basement. I'm Ryan.
I'm Monji.
I'm the flavor commentary.
Today we're talking about the Rite of War, Armored Spearhead, everybody's favorite vehicle, heavy list, and what legions are going to be beneficial for this Rite of War. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
All right, Armored Spearhead. So this is all tanks.
All tanks all the time.
Right. So this is a Rite of War where you get to run pretty much all the tanks you want to your heart's content. It moves. It doesn't actually move the slots of any vehicles. You just get to take them in additional slots. So Predators can be taken as heavy support and as troops.
Okay, and they gain line, right?
No, they don't.
No, they don't gain line.
No, they just get to be troop sources. So you can run nothing but tanks, but then you don't have any line in your army.
Can't secure objectives.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, you can secure objectives over the corpses of your enemies, but you cannot...
The grinding advance of tank treads.
Right.
Very good.
Your opponent also won't score objectives because all their guys will be dead. So
that's the plan here.
That's the hope. It is a all or nothing
Armored Spearhead. Kill them first.
So in addition to that, you get Sakaran tanks, Sakaran squadrons as elites and heavy support.
Right.
And lastly, you can, instead of taking a Praetor or a Primarch or any other regular Master of the Legion, you can upgrade a Predator or a Sakaran tank to be your HQ tank master guy.
The tank commander.
And they get like a +2 to hit.
Right. They become BS5 and they get a 5 invulnerable when you
They make a bubble, right, that gives you the plus to hit?
No. They are a plus to hit. It's a bubble if you play Ultramarines, which we'll get to in a little bit.
The plot thickens.
So so you're going to run a lot of tanks. You're probably going to have a Predator or a Sakaran as your HQ choice. And you're going to run tank squadrons. And that is weird.
Yeah,
it is weird.
It is very odd.
It is unnatural to play tank squadrons, but they are awesome.
So the way tank squadrons work is they have a unit coherency like regular squads of about, I think it's 4 or 6 inches.
Right.
And the second thing that is weird, and this is what makes playing against this list mind-bending, is that tanks in a squadron with other tanks don't block line of sight for the tanks in that squadron.
Okay.
Very odd.
So let's say you want to run a squadron of 3 Land Raiders.
Right.
You got and you like have them in like a line. None of those Land Raiders block line of sight for any of the Land Raiders behind them or in front of them.
And that's all weapons. Turret, sponsons.
Everything.
Yeah, all of their LOS.
So, however, this is where it gets weird. They do still follow the regular vehicle line of sight rule. So I can't have my left sponson target a thing over on the right because I can't see through my own tank, just all these other tanks.
Right. So you can see through your own tank squadron, but your other vehicles, your other squadrons, you cannot see through.
Well, and you can't see through yourself is the point. Like your left sponson can't target the right side of your tank.
Yeah.
So having watched you play this, what is the absolute most challenging thing about running this type of list?
Movement. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. So vehicles have a lot of weird rules around movement. There's only so far you can move and still shoot. There's impacts to your hit rolls. And also vehicles just take up a lot of space on the board.
It's actually a physically big army.
Yeah, like I have come close to filling a deployment zone, and I'm not running that many tanks.
Right, well, you run 10, 12 tanks.
Yeah, it's so my usual army is Sakaran as my HQ. I run 3 Predators as transports for my line infantry. That's how I get around the line problem. Is the other thing this lets you do is everything that could take a Rhino as a transport can instead take a Land Raider as a transport. And when given the option to take Land Raiders, I say yes.
Always.
Invest.
Always.
So
buy more Proteus.
That 14 in all sides box is well worth it.
I really dig it as a way to enhance the durability of the army, and you're going to have so few line units in this army, you really want to make sure they're protected.
Right.
So I highly advocate like running Land Raiders, running Spartans, running those things to keep your guys, who you will need to score points and do objective stuff, alive.
Yeah, the trick to facing off against this army is to try and pop those tanks that have the nougaty good innards of troops. So you can take those out and get rid of them, and that eliminates scoring options.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really solid way to deal with them. It's also, as a tank list, it's not good in melee, folks, and that it doesn't have it. So
true story. I got rammed. One Interruptor got rammed, and that ramming did nothing to that Interruptor, and he responded with a melt-a-bomb that caused 3 wounds on 3 tanks and blew 1 tank up.
Yes. Yeah.
It can happen.
Money.
It's a list where you're going to fight a melee army, and they're going to kill your army because you can't fight back. The advantages you have in that situation is that vehicles never count as being engaged in melee, so...
Yeah, you can shoot anything they're engaged with.
Right, yeah. Even if I can't move out of the fight, I'm not engaged in the fight, I can shoot whatever. It doesn't really matter. The tank doesn't care.
So that's one of the big differences between Horus Heresy and Warhammer 40k, whereas you go into a combat and tag a tank, you eliminate all the shooting.
Lockdown.
Yeah, it's on lockdown.
Yeah.
Horus Heresy, that doesn't apply. You
Yeah.
can keep shooting until that tank is dead.
Right, yeah. So...
It's more historically accurate.
Exactly.
It definitely... So in first edition, Armored Spearhead was an extremely brutal list that had a very bad reputation because of the amount of AP2 shooting that it could put out.
The don't be that guy list.
Right. And I feel like in second edition, it still has a lot of powerful shooting, but due to the other changes made in the edition, it requires a fair bit of finesse and a fair bit of forward planning to get the most out of it. That said, there's definitely legions who run this better than others.
Absolutely. Any kind of legion with enhanced shooting, a shooting reaction is definitely going to be great too. Of course, you can take generic reactions such as return fire and be effective.
And that one legion that likes to just buff anything that says vehicle.
Yeah.
Right.
There is another thing that's important to note here. Whenever you take a reaction with a vehicle squadron, every vehicle in the squadron does the reaction. So let's say you are returning fire, that is every tank in the squadron is returning fire.
Which means 2 Kratos or 4 Predators.
Or, some Sakarans, or, there's a lot of options here.
So, keep in mind that return fire does have its limitations.
Yeah, right. You can only fire defensive weapons.
Right. Pintols, sponsons.
Right.
And anything under strength 6.
Right. Strength 6 or less can fire, which is why you're going to see, I think, a lot of people run like Volkite sponsons. Right. The Volkite turret Predator is really good for this as well. You're going to see a lot of heavy bolters, multi-meltas as pintle mounts, so you get sort of the anti-tank as Overwatch. There's ways to use it, but don't go in assuming you're going to get to fire all those las cannons.
Right. Because you don't.
Right.
Especially on return fire. You'll only be firing them on, Overwatch and just in your normal shooting phase.
Well, no, Overwatch follows the same limitation.
Oh, it's the same
limitation. You can only reaction fire with...
the pintle and the sponsons.
And sponsons that are not las cannon sponsons.
Right. Okay.
Which means you also are devoid of shooting the Kratos turret. The Volkite Kratos turret is a strength 7, so you can't do that.
Yep. Awesome. But the Predator turret is strength 6.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So make sure you know your rules, make sure you know what you're firing, and also, be leery.
Read the book.
Read the book.
Read the book.
So be leery of what you're firing, what you're putting on your tanks.
Right. So that said, there's obviously like a bunch of limits we just talked about, but make no mistake, the shooting this list puts out is still unreal.
Yeah, it is. It is great.
It's heavy firepower for heavy vehicle firepower.
Nailed it. So let's get into the legions. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about some legions here that aren't going to benefit because they really have no rules or any kind of
buff to vehicles.
Yeah, so the legions we're going to list here either have literally no bonus to vehicles whatsoever.
Right.
So there's no legion trait, there's no reaction, there's no war gear, or what they do get is not really meaningful or impactful. So a very common thing that several legions get is +1 strength to ram, which is, and I want to be clear here, hilarious. But that doesn't mean it's good.
So you're instant deathing on what?
So that means your Kratos, your Land Raiders, your Spartans, Anything with front armor 14 is going to be ramming at strength 8, which means that you are instant deathing anything you run into.
But it's AP 3, right?
It's AP nothing.
Oh,
AP
that's right.
nothing.
So you always get a save, but you could instant death.
Yes. Funny, but definitely not good.
Right.
So these legions are going to be the World Eaters, the Blood Angels, the Space Wolves, I believe Emperor's Children.
Emperor's Children and Emperor's Children. Did we miss anybody?
I think that's everybody who gets literally nothing.
Okay.
Oh, Thousand Suns.
That's
Yeah. If there was a tier that says vehicles don't get magic, they would be on F. Yeah.
I don't even know if they get the ramming ability.
No, they don't. They get nothing.
They get nothing.
So the actual nothings are World Eaters, Thousand Suns, and Emperor's Children.
So they are our absolute bottom tier because they cannot benefit from any of their Legion abilities
Right.
at all.
Right. They don't get war gear options. They don't get any buffs. Like, obviously, like Thousand Suns, you can like run a regular librarian and like cast powers. Like, it's not that you don't get to use psychic powers at all. It's that nothing really is great for tanks for them.
Your tanks aren't going to be able to cast psychic powers.
Right. World Eaters, your tanks don't get chain axes, so not great.
Right. But you can't instant death on a
Need that
ramming
chain
charge or
dozer
something.
blade.
No. Only Space Wolves and Blood Angels get that.
Okay, all right.
Emperor's Children and World Eaters get Emperor's Children, World Eaters, and Thousand Suns get actually nothing.
Brutal.
Yeah. So, look, this isn't that you can't play these armies in Armored Spearhead.
Right.
You
They
can.
just get no gain.
Right. And I mean, I think the gain in these legions would be the like guys who can't be in Land Raiders suddenly can be in Land Raiders.
Right.
That's kind of the real benefit. But your mileage is going to vary on that. And, you know, you probably don't need to run Armored Spearhead to do that because you could just take Land Raiders as a heavy support.
Right. And then spend your points elsewhere, you know, enhancing the pieces of the army that are effective.
Right.
Right.
So
All right.
that's our bottom tier. That's why I look forward to people yelling at me in the comments. Please do so because that won't change the fact that you're wrong.
Monji will address you in the comments.
Pimp slap the internet.
Right. Expect your
We want your
comments
hate.
and your hate mail.
We're like Saddam Sammy. Your booze feed me.
Right. Okay. So let's talk
Moving on.
about some legions that can benefit from Armored Spearhead.
Yeah. So I think I want to kick off with like the top of the pops, the Kings of the Mountain, the Iron Hands.
Yeah.
I think the Iron Hands are top of the...
They're the only S tier maybe in this. I mean, Ultramarines are a close second, but
There's other S tier options, but so here's what makes Iron Hands ridiculous. Everything gets It Will Not Die. They can then upgrade it to have It Will Not Die again. So all your vehicles that you want to have It Will Not Die 5 up.
5 up.
If that wasn't enough, you also have Iron Fathers, who can sit quite happily inside of a flare-shielded Spartan or non-flare shielded Land Raiders and heal them from inside on a 3+.
really from the inside.
From the inside.
They don't have to be outside to
No.
do that? Oh,
No.
God.
Nope, they're in there tinkering.
Yeah.
Little workshop.
King, like Torbjorn just hiding behind the wall.
So, yeah.
My turret.
I mean, they can make vehicles that I think are almost unkillable.
Yeah, if you don't pop it in one turn, those tanks are going to be very close to full hit hull points.
I mean, you could, that's not an impossible task because, get lucky on a las, roll a 6, you get a melta bomb in there, roll a 6,
Yeah, I mean, you always have the option, but I mean, the chance is low.
Yeah, I mean,
low chances.
they're the only people with a Primarch that has Battlesmith, which is hilarious again. So yeah, these guys, you've got a lot of unkillable armor 14 bricks. And then, this is another legion. You're going to run Kratos squadrons. You're going to run like big armor 14 guys, and you're going to get that It Will Not Die roll. So that much harder to kill. It's just going to be insanely brutal.
Yeah, I mean, it is frustrating to play against them with this Rite of War because you can't kill anything.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah, for sure.
Just when you thought you killed it. Nope.
Yeah, it keeps rolling.
They just forgot how to die. I mean, that's really the thing. So, moving along, let's talk the Dark Angels so that Dan can be part of the conversation.
Hey. Middle of the road. Why? Because they have a Rite of War that they can take only for them that's better than this Rite of War for them. I don't.
So
remember the
really
exact
not
name of it.
effective.
It's not. I mean,
There is the Iron Wing benefit that is fine.
yeah. I mean,
Sure.
you can make everything Iron Wing, or you can take the Iron Wing Rite of War and do it better.
True. But in the case of this generic Rite of War for Armored Spearhead, they don't gain a lot.
They really don't. No, they get. What would they do? They would. Let me remember Iron Wing off the top of my head. So let's say you made them all Iron Wing.
Off the top of Dan's head, remember.
In the book.
In the book, off the top of my
Off
head.
the top of your head.
You know. Make all snapshots at a BS2 instead of a BS1. Oh.
I mean, it's better than nothing.
It's better than a sharp
Emperor's
stick in
Children
the
don't
eye.
have nothing. They have they snapshot on 5s.
They have something.
They have something.
All right. Perfect. So, I mean, as far as Dark Angels are concerned, they don't gain a lot here. They're kind of snap firing at BS5. Or sorry, on 5s.
Yeah, they're fine.
They're fine.
Yeah.
They got that. So,
And real quick, Emperor's Children, same deal. It's fine.
it's fine. They got something.
Yeah.
That's not nothing.
Moving along, Word Bearers get nothing. That's right.
Yeah, word bearers get nothing.
We thought for a second that they could do stuff with the Warpfire Plasma, but that would require a vehicle to have plasma cannons,
Correct.
and you can't give them that.
Right. You cannot upgrade it, or else they would probably be in the B or A tier, low A tier.
Yeah.
All right.
So-
tell me about your
vaulted.
These guys, I think are high A. So
Okay.
they're high A for 2 reasons. The first is that the trait for Ultramarines is really easy to trip with Armored Spearhead. You've got units that are both large and spread around, so it's easy to be within 6 of a guy who's already shot at a target. The line of sight rules help them really like lay on fire on a specific target. I mean, Ryan, Dan, you guys have seen the list in action.
Yes.
It's a ton of highly accurate fire from las cannons and volkites and
Or Melta Blast cannons, damn you rule makers for the Melta Blast cannon.
It's
what are the Kratos?
Yeah, the Kratos Melta Blast cannon. What a janky gun.
And their advanced reaction has a lot of synergy here.
Yeah, the really spicy thing here is we mentioned this in previous episodes, but if you react with the Ultramarines reaction, 2 vehicle squadrons are returning fire.
Right. So a Predator squad is 4 vehicles. A Kratos squad is 2 vehicles. Land Raiders, I think, are 3.
And if
Land
you're
Ra-
not
no, Land Raiders are 3.
3.
Yeah.
Okay.
and if you're not used to playing against the list, you'll be like, what do you mean that Predator squadron over there just gets to see through themselves and waste whoever's out in the open because they want to?
The line of sight rules for squadrons, completely make it very hard to play against the list.
Now you do have to build specifically for this.
Yes.
You want to maximize like Volkite and Heavy Bolter sponsons. Right. You want to really consider your pintle weapons because only your defensive weapons are firing. So you really want to make sure you're getting the max amount of value out of those. Now that said, I'm running a Kratos squadron that's running all Volkite. Yeah. I'm running a Predator squadron with like 3 tanks with the Volkite sponsons. So it's like 30 or 40 shots just throwing into some poor infantry unit.
Right. And this is these are reactions.
Right. This is a reaction.
So this is additional on top of your already crazy shooting phase.
Right.
Okay.
And it's definitely just something that people are going to be caught out by because it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But this all sounds good, but they have a real durability problem. I mean, we've seen like I got the farthest I've ever gotten against Ryan's Custodes, and I was still tabled by turn 3.
Right. So the one reason
Because Custodes.
Okay, so if you watched our last video, there was some comments about why we put Ultramarines where we did. Mm-hmm. The reasoning, and maybe we didn't explain this, is simply that if you don't engage with Ultramarines until you hit close combat and you weather that storm, they're in trouble because they're not going to get that reaction fire. So they're going to get you on shooting and maybe an Overwatch. That's it.
And no matter what the internet says, they only have one really, really righteous melee unit, and you're only going to take 10 of them anyway for points.
They've got 2
They got the Suzerains
and the Storm Squad.
and the Storm Squad.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, a tank disgorging suzerain sucks. All right, that's all I'm going to say.
They were
Poor Dan.
they were a thorn in your side for sure. But yeah,
They did. They thorned me up good.
The advantage you have is that you can run suzerains in Land Raiders, which is an excellent way to have line infantry.
Absolutely.
You've got a lot going for you, but like Ryan pointed out, you can play around this list with a melee army, and once you're in, my tanks die very quickly. Like there's not a lot,
especially if you're packing melta bombs or weapons that can actually like dent that armor.
Yeah, I mean, even crack grenades will go through Predator squadrons. So, Dan was able to fire like one Enter-Emptor Flamer, almost took out 2 Predators.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, that's a really important thing that nobody overlooked rule. If you are standing behind a tank with a template weapon and the template covers 2 tanks because they have to be that way for the squadron rules, you're hitting 2 tanks at rear armor. Pretty spicy.
Yeah, it's definitely an army that is very good as long as the opponent is like 18 inches away from you.
Right.
And the minute the opponent is less than 12 away from you, your whole plan falls apart.
Right. Ultramarines definitely depend on your opponent playing the same game as you and you just kind of outgunning them.
Right. Yeah. Like I would love to fight Iron Warriors. I would love to fight, this is going to sound weird, Sun Killer Emperor's Children.
Yeah.
Like that's a fantastic thing. You're going to shoot me, so I get to shoot you back with a billion guns.
Whereas, Space Wolves, World Eaters, Custodes, they're just going to run across the field and not engage with you in shooting until, and they're going to swamp you.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
All right. So we've talked that to death. Let's move on.
Let's talk about another army that can exploit the hee-haw out of this list. Death Guard.
Death Guard. I like Death Guard.
Weirdly, the fastest army. They're S, 100%.
Think so?
Dude,
They
abuse the hell out of tanks.
Explain to me the S tier, because I mean, like...
They count as stationary.
I understand they count as stationary.
Yeah,
so they're never really going to be... Like,
so
they count as stationary. Even if they get immobilized or crew shaken, they don't give a shit. They still move the same distance.
True. They can't be pinned.
They cannot be
Granted
pinned.
vehicles.
I believe immobilized still affects them because that removes the ability to
Read the
move.
rule. You got the book. Read the rule. It literally says they ignore everything and move.
Hold up.
They don't get to run. They don't get to
Hold on.
do advance, but they just
Vehicles can't do that anyway.
right. But they can't run. But yeah, no, cruising speed. Like as long as you do regular movement characteristic.
Yeah, you can't move flat out or something.
Right. Yeah, you can't go flat out move. You have to do cruising speed. But as long as they take a standard movement, they don't.
Yeah,
they don't care.
The benefit here is because they count as standing still, you get to fire ordnance weapons and still move around.
Yeah,
that's awesome. You're not taking hits to your ballistic skill on these guys.
Well, and like
no, you can move flat out.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So it only stops if you use an alternative form of movement, which moving flat out is not.
Oh, okay.
So
Jesus.
Now it does not let you ignore immobilized. Wait.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, no. Does not allow models with the vehicle unit type to ignore the effects of an immobilized result on the vehicle damage table.
Okay.
But
like crew shaking.
But you ignore crew stun. Yeah. You don't ignore immobilized, but you do ignore the other stuff.
So 1 through 3, you're good.
Right.
So somebody glances you, gets crew stunned, and snapshots, whatever.
It'll be a pen.
But. Yeah. And this solves, we've talked about how movement is a real problem with the list. Death Guard solved that problem because suddenly your tanks are moving 12 and 14.
Well, and you can also flat out.
Let's party.
Well, and you don't have to be, you can flat out and still fire all your heavies.
Or your ordnance weapons.
No, like everything.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
The important takeaway here is they're S tier because there is a big drawback to tank shooting that the Legion entirely ignores.
Okay.
So being able to suddenly do all the stuff and move with vehicles, these guys are
incredible. And they don't have to take dangerous terrain checks either.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those new Typhons that are coming out, get to.
Yeah.
Typhon Squadrons.
Right, Typhon Squadrons. Yeah. The Kratos.
Typhon Squadrons.
Right. All right, let's talk about... Do we have a B tier? Do we discuss a B?
Is there a B?
I like to fill it in.
I would put Alpha Legion in B.
Okay.
I think.
Oh yeah, because they get to redeploy an entire squadron.
Yeah. So the reason I think they're in B, we've talked about the 2-inch the farther away thing, which is really handy when you're exchanging tank fire because you're at 48. Sorry, you're at 50. right? Like that's actually a really significant
And that actually
thing.
forces someone to move to meet you, so
Yeah.
that can impact them as well.
And then, yeah, like Dan mentioned, being able to like, I'm going to pick up these 2 Kratos squadrons and put them wherever I want.
Yeah. Trying to lure someone into
That's
like
way
shooting
ugly.
the rear armor. And,
That's way ugly. It's
Yeah.
super way ugly.
Yeah.
and they suddenly appear out of mist.
I know.
These Kratos in the mist.
I know. You thought this unit of Terminators wasn't in range of a bunch of Meltaguns. Bad news.
So unfortunate news for you, they suddenly are.
Yeah, it's. I don't know if it's enough to like put them over the top as like a fantastic tank army, but that one trick is an excellent trick.
But they do have something as compared to all these guys here at the bottom.
Right.
That have nothing.
Right. That have nothing.
Nothing.
Right.
And redeploying, so you can get some strategic advantage here is pretty key.
Yeah, we've said movement is a real big issue for this army. Being able to just redeploy a squadron is awesome. It's fantastic.
You can feign parking in front of some other tanks and suddenly you redeploy and, you're good.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on, who else do you think falls in B? I'm thinking like maybe Raven Guard.
I would put White Scars in B.
I like White Scars in B.
So
Again, movement.
movement is obviously a key here. To me, the actual big thing,
Going first.
the go first thing. Vehicles are easier to kill than a lot of other units because of the vehicle damage table.
Right.
And
Whole
going
guns
first
versus
is
ones.
right.
Since they have no close combat, that goes first means empty salvo of weaponry into whoever's on them.
Correct. Yeah. Like it's having that first turn is really key for Armored Spearhead. White Scars are the only legion that gives you something to seize.
The ability to wipe out a unit that could really threaten your vehicles is so clutch.
Yeah.
I choose to go first, and I aim at those guys that are going to wipe me out.
Oh,
Right,
you're
exactly.
going first. You have these 10 las cannons. Well, what if you aren't going first and you don't have 10 las
Yeah.
cannons?
What if they just weren't there?
Right. So yeah, I think that it's not really like obvious, but that bonus is really key for this Rite of War.
Yeah.
And their advanced reaction, being able to like pull units away from melee, being able to pull again, if any member of the squadron is in range, the whole squadron is getting that redeploy. It's huge.
Right.
Like
And I mean, +1 movement is nothing to sneeze at.
not at all. No.
It helps you.
Yeah.
It's something. But as Monji said, I think the go first is definitely clutch.
That's super beefcake.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about
You're leaning Iron Warriors.
Iron Warriors. I like Iron Warriors.
They're damn near S tier if you take the whole template list.
Well, I mean, I don't think that it's just templates. I think just the fact that they're so good against automata, dreadnoughts, other vehicles, and the benefit is always there.
Low key, Armored Spearhead is, I think, a list that is really good against dreadnoughts because you can kill 2-ish, maybe 3 dreadnoughts a turn.
Right.
More if you really gear for it. But the Iron Hand reactions or Iron Warriors reactions are really good. Being able to take pinning heavy bolters on sponsons means you
Yes.
have some additional
that's pretty
protection
fun.
against charges.
Right.
So, you want to charge my Predator Squadron? Well, here's 8 times 4, 32 heavy bolter shots. Enjoy your pinning checks.
Right.
That's pretty solid.
And the upgrades to those the flat cannon things are pretty cheap.
Yeah, I would honestly lean S for these guys.
I think bottom S.
Yeah. I mean, and I can't overemphasize enough. Like, if you show up and say you were at a tournament, right, and you ran a 2,000 point version of this, and you did have the templates, and you did have all those bonuses, and somebody decides to bring in a bunch of like tack squads and a couple of Terminator squads. I mean, like, you're one turn eliminating tack squads, like the entire squad.
I mean, you definitely have the ability to take a bunch of different variety of tank weapons. And I mean, you can gear if you were playing the 1.0 rules when Iron Fire was so strong.
Hilariously, like Imperial Fists, having a bunch of basic Predators and Iron Warriors is kind of great.
Yeah, I mean, you go from a Strength 7 autocannon or auto turret to Strength 8, and suddenly, you're wounding on 3s.
now you're instant-deathing everything.
Yeah, you're instant-deathing a lot of stuff.
We're not
Not
going
everything.
instant deathing. You're
That's strength
wounding
8.
on. You're not against infantry.
Right.
Okay.
It's just vehicles, automata, and dreadnoughts.
I see,
Yeah,
I see.
but you're wounding dreadnoughts on 3s. You've got rending. There are a lot of shots, like 4 shots per. And regular predators are like 105 points.
Yeah. Also, your las cannons go from 9 to 10. So, I mean, you're popping vehicles even easier.
Yeah. Iron Warriors are an army that, like, I think really loves basic predators and basic Sakarans a whole lot. And Armored Spearhead also loves running those tanks. So
right. You can take a whole mess of those. You don't need to invest in the Kratos or the Typhons or the Cerberus. You can just take Predators and be just as effective because you're getting that +1 strength.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
And of course, their reaction's great too.
Now, we did mention them, and we kind of got to rate them. We got to talk fists.
Okay.
Big old fisty boys.
Okay.
This might be one of the lists they're not the best at.
I think they're good.
I lean S, but I think they're A.
I don't think that they're as effective as Ultramarines in this Rite of War, simply because the weapons that you have to take to be, so effective are going to be those bolt weapons. You do get the auto turret, the auto cannon.
They don't get to put like a weird assault cannon on anything, do they?
Yes, they do. Oh. They don't get to. They get to replace like the rotor cannons. They get to replace like the handguns and dreadnoughts.
Right.
I don't think they can take the turret like the Blood Angels can.
Right. Yeah, the ball predator
right.
doesn't exist to them, right?
Fun. It does. Blood Angels can 100% take it. It's actually one of my favorite things. It's not good, but you can take it, and it's awesome.
So I would say
maximum flavor.
Why I would put them as A is because in the current meta, where you do have a lot of armored, Spearhead running around, you have a lot of Fury running around, they kind of miss the boat on those 2 lists.
Oh wait, no, Fists can run the ball predator turret.
Oh my god,
that's cool.
Yeah,
I don't think it improves them that much, but
no, it makes it twin linked, and it's assault 4, rending 6, and it
rending
does it get hot
when it does a reaction fire.
Okay,
nice. So, again, I don't think right now in this edition there's a bad Imperial Fist list, so to speak. But I think as far as Rite of Wars, I think they fall short of the S tier. And, currently Ultramarines, I don't think they beat out Ultramarines just because the reaction's so good and their
I will say they're an army that can do entirely 2-up to hit. And
that's something.
That's kind of amazing.
Yeah. I think they still have durability issues, similar to Ultramarines, whereas the guys up here, it's so hard to stop them.
Yeah.
And there's so much synergy.
Yeah.
All right.
We got to talk Sons of Horus. We got to talk
Sons of Horus. Okay.
The elephant in the room of not having a whole lot to do with tanks.
Yeah. If you watched our Pride of Legion video, awesome Legion. But as far as vehicles are concerned, this is not where they shine.
Yeah, I mean, they're really meant to be kind of a rumbly melee army, and that's where I think we mentioned earlier, run good dudes in Land Raiders who can suddenly fit in Land Raiders. Suddenly a bunch of Sons of Horus guys get to be in Land Raider transports, which is really cool. But I agree with you, there's not a lot in the Legion that benefits here. I think the only real thing they get is the reaction, which is maybe not great, but firing before your opponent gets to shoot, never bad.
Yeah, I mean, if you get caught flat-footed somewhere on the battlefield, these guys can, use their advanced reaction and maybe reduce incoming fire by just whittling down a unit. But, there's nothing in their army that says, I'm awesome at driving tanks. I get, a consistent rule.
They get +3 hits when they ram, sir.
+3 hits, eh?
+3 hits.
Well, if only there was a tank that was just built around ramming things.
If there was a tank that had a bunch of their axes strapped to it.
GW. Give me a tank built for ramming. I will definitely build it.
I want a man mower.
Just the man mower.
The man mower. It just moves 18 inches and has no weapons.
It's just the Arquator Bombard, but with just a big snowplow on the front,
like a cow catcher. Okay.
It looks
Terminator catcher.
It looks like the execution wall from Caligula.
Yeah.
We're just gonna run the Mad Max list.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So continuing our kind of unimpressive journey here is Raven Guard, who are aggressively
Mediocre.
They got a thing. They give shrouded to vehicles that move flat out, but if you move flat out, you're firing one gun
fire.
at snapshots.
You can't see me fire my one gun.
It's not great.
That's
It adds a lot of survivability, but you also sacrifice any kind of real offense.
And there's no synergy to that at all.
No.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, man, probably better than Emperor's Children, maybe better than DA, but I think the reaction puts Sons of Horus above them.
For sure.
So, yeah. I guess the lesson here with Raven Guard is don't play this Rite of War.
I mean, there is something to be said for running like fast vehicles with only maybe one gun, like saber tanks.
Right.
But
that would be. I could see like an all saber tank list being kind of spicy with this.
But our next Legion is going to be the way better guys to run that.
Yeah.
The Night Lords.
Yeah,
they're so good.
All vehicles count as 10 men.
Yeah, so you know how we rated Legions at a +1 to hit really good? How about Legions +1 to wound really good?
I think that puts them into S tier.
Yeah.
It does.
I like them right there, maybe ahead of Death Guard.
I would put Death Guard ahead for sure.
Think so?
Yeah, the only thing second Death Guard. Yeah. No.
I mean, I guess the only downside to them is that they actually have to beat it out. They have to outnumber a unit they're firing out to get that benefit, whereas Death Guard always has.
So it's like, so you got to do the math, right? So if you got 4 Predators in a squadron, that's 40 men. They're going to outnumber everything as a unit.
Three Predators do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is there, but because they don't get close combat advantage, they just fire a bunch on a plus to wound.
And I think solving the movement problem is a bigger deal than wounding more consistently. That said, I am legit terrified. I think Night Lord's Armored Spearhead is a fantastic army. I think it's
absolutely very competitive.
It's just going to shoot down even things like Custodes, because suddenly things that are wounding Custodes on 3s, which is quite a lot of the anti-infantry fire, is wounding them on 2s.
Yeah. So the lesson here, Monji, is just paint lightning on your
tanks.
tanks.
Just put some bolts on some Ultramarines.
Maybe scratch out the Ultramarine symbols.
That'd be nice.
But yeah, no, I
we'll
genuinely...
get you some vinyl stickers.
I got some wash.
I feel like the right way to do Night Lords is like 80s panel van style.
Oh,
like
hell yeah.
Really,
a rush van.
Really, like really lean
a
into
flying Pegasus, like a Nightmare Pegasus.
No, it's just Reapers all the time.
You just take the Reapers off of the Dark Angel transfer sheet, and it's just like on the sides of the tanks.
Reapers and like flesh.
Yeah. and a whole lot of flayed flesh.
Yeah, I really can't emphasize how good that +1 to wound is, and how trivially easy it is for Night Lords to do it all the time.
On top of all the pinning and all the fear and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I mean, this is initially, before I had like played around with the list a lot more, I thought they were just the best at running tanks. I think Death Guard and Iron Hands are better, but like, man, this is a real fine hair.
Yeah, I mean, Night Lords, I think, require a slightly more experienced player to really capitalize on those benefits, whereas, Iron Hands and Death Guard are always going to have their benefits.
Yeah.
I think you need to be a little more strategic.
Interesting counterpoint, just for if you're playing another Armored Spearhead list, I don't know that I would want to take anything other than Night Lords. I mean,
because the wound doesn't help.
Plus the wound doesn't help when you're
not wounding.
No, you're not wounding. You're doing armor pen.
Never mind.
Unless
Retract my statement.
They might have a bonus to AP as well.
If they have a bonus to AP, that's really extra spicy.
Only if we had a way to check, thanks to the
Only
wonderful support of Bell of Lost Souls.
A reference material in front of us. Hey, look, 5 more Death Guard.
Wound or armor penetration rules.
Oh, God. Yeah, see?
So they technically also have the Iron Warriors buff.
That's mega dirty. The only saving grace for so look, Iron Warriors get to heal themselves, right? Night Lords don't.
Iron Hands.
Iron Hands. I'm sorry.
Right.
Iron Hands get to heal themselves. Night Lords don't. Death Guard can still outmaneuver them, hilariously enough.
Yeah.
And still fire all the guns for doing so.
Right.
Which the Night Lords don't.
I would say if you're a newer player who wants to play this, Death Guard is definitely the list to go with, or maybe Iron Hands. Death Guard, you can basically just move around and do whatever you want. You have no considerations here. You just
care.
do whatever you want.
You do not care.
Right, you do not care.
But yeah, Night Lords, if you know what you're doing, that is scurry.
Oh, it is gross.
That is extra scary,
It
man.
is gross.
That is way... Ugh.
All right, we're going to wrap up with our vaunted Salamanders.
Who don't get much, right?
They don't get a lot.
So all the vehicles gain it will not die 6 up.
Okay. Yep, that's
Which
pretty
is-
good.
That's not bad.
Which is pretty good.
I moved them up a tier.
Yeah.
Their reaction does not do anything.
Right.
They get to buff their
Melta. Flamers.
so that is only a penalty to wound.
Okay.
Which you're already going to be wounding real hard on those weapons.
Well, no, it's you don't roll to wound against vehicles. It doesn't affect
right,
Yeah, it
right,
doesn't-
right. That's
right.
armor penetration. Right.
Not 40k.
Duh, sorry.
That's the mantra.
Ugh.
So what is kind of interesting is the upgraded flamers. They can upgrade the flame turret on the predators. They can apply. To heavy flamers that you get sort of coincidentally on a bunch of weapons or a bunch of vehicles.
Don't forget that means they get like torrent upgraded flamers.
So it upgrades the strength to 6 on a heavy flamers or 7 on the flamestorm turret.
Okay.
Which has a torrent of like 18 or 9.
Torrent 18.
Oof.
And
So Torrent
Yeah.
26? Like
No,
really
no,
range
like
26?
you go out 18 inches wherever you
Oh
want.
yeah, I know,
then-
and you have the little template.
it's like a 9-inch template, so it's like a 27-inch range or so.
range on it.
Flamers that want to reach out and get you.
Right.
And then their gimmick is that they do D6 when they fire as Overwatch for Wall of Death. They do D6 hits instead of D3. So
That's getting real close to A tier.
now I would say they're pretty. I would agree. I would agree they're in B because if you're firing flamethrowers, the enemy is very close to you, and tanks
That's a
do
bad
not want.
place to be.
Yes, yeah. Melee is
if you're running
disastrous
tanks.
for vehicles.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I actually wouldn't say it's disastrous, but I think in the case if you're going to load up on flamers, you do have a significant challenge actually trying to hit things that are within melee range of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like them in B tier. I think they're. Oh man, I really like the benefit of like trying to go first. With,
Yeah, I would
White
put
Skies.
them. I'd put them ahead of Alpha Legion. Yeah, I think that's fair.
All right, so that's our list, guys.
Sweet and short, because not too many people get to advantage it.
Right. So if you're looking for an S tier, Armored Spearhead, Rite of War.
You got about 4 options.
Yeah. Iron
Load
Hands,
up on that Chaos Black
DG,
spread. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Night Lords, Iron Warriors, and other considerations are of course Imperial Fists and Ultramarines. So, let us know what you think. Send us all your hate mail. We love to read it. We love to laugh at it. We love to discuss with you.
Gut laugh.
Gut laugh.
Gut laugh at hate.
And Monji will be responding in comments
Always.
with vindictive quotes. We'll share them with us in our chat.
I value your opinion. It's absolutely wrong, but I value it.
And here's why. Feel free to reach out. Please comment, subscribe, like, whatever, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from the Bull's Basement, I am Ryan.
I'm Monji.
I'm Dan.
Keep rolling those bones, and we'll catch you next time.